Salutations! I'm the airstruck artist, and this is the process of how I made Amity's dress. These are the pattern pieces that I used. This is the front of the shirt, which is just one piece. It's wider at the bottom than the top of the skirt. This is the front of her skirt. It's all just one piece, but if I fold it in half, I can double it for the back of the skirt and just add an inseam. This piece is going to be her sleeve. I need 2 of those. And this is the back of her shirt. I need 2 of those as well, and I have room for the inseam. The collar gets a glue seam all the way around, so the front gets a glue seam as well. The edge of the skirt also doesn't get a hem, it just gets glue put around the edges. This shows what pattern pieces gets glue put on the edge of the hem instead of being sewn flat. I made a mock-up dress to see what the pattern would look like, and I didn't bother putting glue on the edges of the fabric to keep it from fraying because I would not be actually using it on the doll. I begin with the front and back pieces of the top. I put glue around the collar for the front and both the back pieces. You can tell it's a bit shiny from it. Then I need to attach the shoulder pieces. So, good side to good side, I sew the front to the back. They overlap it where the Velcro would be, but I ended up just tying the shirt closed, so it's just more of an overlap of fabric. Then I need to attach the shoulder pieces. They also get a glue hem at the bottom. I open up the shirt to its good side, and then I pin the curve of the sleeve to the curve of the shoulder. I use lots of pins as I go along the edge and try to keep it as flat as possible. I then sew along the hem of the sleeve. First in a straight stitch, and then I wrap around the edge to try and shrink it in and make as much room as possible for the hand to go through the sleeve hole. My Amity doll does not have hands that can come off her body, so I have to just really hope this fits her when I first made it. I flip it back over to see how it looks. It looks nice, so I then sew the other sleeve on the opposite side. It came out a little bit wrinkled, and since I do not have a teeny tiny doll-sized iron, I had to use my miniature flat iron to smooth it out. Next, I take the bottom of the shirt and I do a straight stitch along the bottom of it. Amity has a scrunched part of her top that kind of sticks out more right as it touches the skirt, so by scrunching this fabric, I'll make it taper from a wider shape into a smaller one to fit at her waist. I pull tight the end of the thread that I was using to sew the bottom until it's the same width as the top of the skirt. Before I sew the top and bottom pieces together, I go along the edge of the skirt piece with glue to free check the edges. Then I take the top and bottom and I line them good side to good side. Then I sew along the edge of the waist. It was at this point that I realized that I did not want to add Velcro on the back and that I would just have it tied closed, so instead of having a hem on the edges where the Velcro would be, I went over it with glue like the collar. Next, I'm going to add the back of the skirt, which, as I had said before, is just the front of the skirt folded in half with a little tab to fold in the back. One side does not have it because it's not getting Velcro. That's just going to get smushed on the inside to cover up the hole from where I insert her into the dress. They get a glue hem around the edge, and then they get laid good side to good side and sewn across the waist and the back. I repeat on the other side. This is what it currently looks like. This is it folded out. As you can see, everything is sewn where it should be for the most part, but now we're going to flip it inside out and then pin it in place like a natural dress shape. I line up all the seams and then pin going down the sides. This is the back of the dress after I have pinned it. I'm going to sew starting from about the mid of the skirt, so past the hips, right here all the way to the sleeve. So from the edge of the sleeve, down the side, and a bit past her hips. After I've repeated that on both sides, I then turn it inside out. This is what the dress currently looks like. I did accidentally dip a little bit into her shoulder sleeve as I was sewing, but the other side came out pretty straight. I tried it on the doll to see how it fits comfortably. I was able to get her hands to the sleeves, thankfully. After that, I take her dress and I pull the edges of the bottom of the skirt together, folding the good side on the inside, kind of like almost inside outing it, and then I pin it down in place. I then sew beneath the flap of the skirt, just to the bottom, and then turn it inside out. Since everything is now sewn in place the way I want it to be, I simply just fold in the flap in the back of the skirt and flatten some of the seams just with my hands and fingers. I fold over the extra piece of fabric that sticks there, and then it's ready to be put on the doll. The dress came out in the shape that I wanted to and fits her pretty well. The only things that really need to be changed is there's a little bit of fabric sticking out on her sleeves. I just trim that with scissors and then re-go over the edge with some clear drying glue. You might have noticed that Amity's dress is brown and not black like in the show. That's because I was out of black fabric and now we need to paint this. I stuffed the dress with some tissue paper, that way none of the fabric touches itself, and then I used watered down black acrylic paint and covered the entire dress. I'm fine with using paint to add details. I find it does stiffen fabric, but overall it doesn't really bother me. For her collar, I then paint it gray using a little bit of outlining with a white pencil. I make sure to turn the head backwards when I do this, that way I don't ruin her face. All that is left to do is to tie in her waist with a little belt that's just a long rectangle of fabric that I painted gray and cut the edges with glue to make sure they would not fray. I tie it like a belt in the back. And her dress is done. I think this is my favorite Amity outfit from the entirety of the show. It just suits her so well and is a very simple, easy design that looks very beautiful on her. It was very fun to make, and it was the first time that I made like a prototype outfit for a doll. Normally I go head first in and watch everything burn around me as I have enjoyment for sewing. I'm new to doing videos specifically on sewing doll outfits, so I'm still working out the kinks, so hopefully in the future I can do more in-detail sewing videos where it's about a bit easier to understand. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining my Patreon. I can't wait to show you guys more of the crazy stuff I do, and until next time, toodaloo!